Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. And on today's video, I actually have a brand new shoe for you. This is the brand new Topo Aura. And very basically, the Topo Aura is a max cushion stability shoe. Did I mention it's brand new? I mean, this is the first year they've come out with it. And I've got to say, it's a pretty good shoe, but let's get into it. Let's get those disclosures out of the way. Topo Athletic was good enough to send me this pair of the Aura for the purpose of review. However, they haven't told me what to say. They don't have any editorial privileges, and all the thoughts and opinions are my own. With that said, you're going to be able to pick up a pair of the Topo Aura for $165. And of course, I'll place a link in the show notes below in case you want to pick up a pair for yourself. So let's jump right in and talk about some of the specs of the Topo Aura. Now, before we talk about specs, the Topo Aura is basically the Topo Atmos, but the stability version of the Topo Atmos. Does that make sense? So a lot of you already love the Topo Atmos, and if you are looking for just a little more support, then I think the Topo Aura is going to be the shoe you've been looking for. So the Aura has 38 in the heel, 33 in the forefoot for a 5mm drop. Now Topo claims that in a US bin size 9, the Aura would tip the scale at 10.9 ounces or 309 grams, but in my size, a US bin size 13, it tips the scale at 12.4 ounces or 352 grams. So it's right in line with what's normal for a daily trainer as far as weight goes. Now of course we also have to look at some of the competition when we are first looking at picking up a new shoe, and from what I have in my shoe collection behind me, I think the most comparable shoe is the Asics Gel Kayano 31. Now, the Asics Gel Kayano 31 is the same price, but it has 40 in the heel, 30 in the forefoot for a 10mm drop. So you've got 2 extra millimeters of stack height in the heel and 3 less millimeters of stack height in the forefoot. And of course, 10mm drop, 5mm drop. I think that's probably the biggest difference between the two. Like if you had to make a decision between the two, you're probably going to be deciding between that 10mm drop or a 5mm drop. Now also in my size, the Gel Kayano 31 tips the scale at 362 grams compared to the 352 grams in the Aura. And other than that, these shoes are for the same type of runner. They're for a runner looking for a lot of protection, a little bit of support, and a lot of comfort. Okay. So why don't we start at the top and work our way down? And I'm going to hold this up, and this is exactly what you would expect, I think. We've got quite a bit of padding coming around this heel collar, but look, there's not that much padding. And this is what I like to see, because Topo hasn't overdone it. Now, don't get me wrong, there is more than enough padding here to give your heel and your ankle that super plush feeling. It is very comfortable to slip your foot in, but you know, they haven't just like gone over the top. A lot of daily trainers will often put like double the amount of padding around this heel collar. So it's nice to see. And that's probably a reason that they've kept the weight at least 10 grams less than the Kayano 31. Coming to the back end of the shoe and the heel counter, we have a very solid heel counter. Got a nice elf ear design. And then right here on the back, you can see it says Aura 5mm drop. This is a heel clip. It's just a little plastic element that's going to give you a little more control when your heel hits the ground, and it's going to contribute to keep your heel centered over the back of the shoe. We're going to come back to that theme when we talk about the midsole. For the upper, Topo is using an engineered mesh. It's fairly normal. It is nice and light though. Like when my foot is in there, it feels fairly breathable. And yeah, when I'm feeling it like from the inside and the outside, it does feel nice and thin. So that is something I like to see. As far as overlays go, of course, Topo styling is just very minimalist, and I really love it for that. So we've got the Topo branding here on the lateral side. Then as far as overlays, that's really about it. Of course, we've got the underlay around the toe box, the overlay coming along the eyelet chain just to lend a little more support. We do have the extra hole in case you want to do the lace lock method, but really with this padding, this rigid heel counter, and this heel clip, I would say it's highly unlikely you're going to get any heel slip in the Topo Aura. The tongue on the Aura is fairly thin, which just like this heel counter is a little surprising for a daily trainer. But let me tell you, there is more than enough padding here to do the job. It is going to protect the top of your foot from those laces, and I would say they've really nailed the amount of padding they've got in this tongue, at least for a padded tongue. You know, some tongues are just like super minimal and thin, and they've got like strategic padding, but that's probably more of like an up-tempo style of tongue. This is still a daily training style of tongue, but on the minimal end. Does that make sense? Now, the tongue is not gusseted, but we do have those 2 lace loops that are exactly what we'd expect from Topo, about a quarter of the way down the tongue, and they do a fine job of keeping that tongue in place. Tongue is not moving around at all in the Aura. So you know what, let's come down to the midsole. And ultimately Topo is using zip foam for the midsole of the Aura. And if you run in a lot of Topo shoes, you know that zip foam is kind of like their catch-all foam that they put into a lot of their shoes. But all zip foams are not created equally. Some are tweaked for different types of rides, and I've got to say that the zip foam in the Aura is my favorite zip foam that I've run in yet. Like oftentimes I felt that zip foam is just a little firm for me to take for long runs. That hasn't been my experience with the zip foam in the Aura. Like it's not super plush, but it's soft enough that I could run in this shoe for hours and hours and hours. And it's firm enough that I don't feel that I'm like separated from the ground, or I'm not getting lost in the squish. And by lost in the squish, you know, when a shoe is too soft, sometimes it's like it's just sucking your energy into the ground and it doesn't give it back. The zip foam in the Aura is fairly responsive. I mean, you know, it's not a tempo shoe. You're not going to be taking this out for track day, but for what it is made for these longer runs, these daily runs, I was actually very impressed with how this zip foam in the Aura performed. And I was a little surprised. Like, I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. Now let's quickly talk about another element that contributes to stability, and that is Topo's Y-frame. And basically, on the bottom of the shoe, you can see this coming around like this. It's kind of like a Y, isn't it? I mean, it is. It's shaped like a Y. The name fits. And basically this Y-frame is incorporated into the zip foam, midsole foam. Now if we come around to the medial side, you can see it comes up just a little bit here. Now there is more inside the zip foam that we can't see from the outside. And if we switch it around to the lateral side, see it comes up just a little higher. And much like this heel clip on the back, the Y-frame and the heel clip are going to work together to keep your heel centered over the top of the platform. So when your heel lands first and then you roll through your gait cycle, you are going to stay centered and remain stable. Now, of course, the platform actually lends itself to stability. We have quite a wide platform, especially from looking at it from the bottom. If I turn around, yeah, you can see we've got some sole flare right on the front. And while we're looking at the front, guys, I can't believe I forgot to tell you this now, but Topo is known for their anatomical toe box. So this shoe is going to fit like a dream. And if you enjoy running with a wider toe box, it's not crazy wide, but it's definitely wider than a traditional toe box. I think Topo really does well with the shape of their shoes. And when my foot is in the Aura, it just feels like it can move around. Like there's enough room to move around without being too sloppy. Like I do get a nice lockdown, and yet there's still room to move around. You know, if you have ever run in a Topo shoe, then you know what I'm talking about. If you have ever felt constricted from a really narrow toe box in a shoe, then you also know what I'm talking about. If you have neither run in a Topo shoe or experienced a very thin shoe, then you still owe it to yourself to try a Topo shoe and see what the anatomical toe box is all about. Okay, let's just take a brief look at the bottom of the shoe. We can see we got quite a bit of outsole rubber. We got 2 strips right on the heel, and then we got quite a bit of rubber up here on the forefoot with a big cutout in between. I think this big cutout is really just for saving weight. And when I look at the outsole rubber on the Aura, it looks fantastic. Like where I usually touch down, yeah, I can see a little bit of grazing here on my lateral heel edge, but it really is just grazing. It's like the rubber hasn't really worn down, it's just been scratched. Up here on the forefoot, I don't see any wear, but what I am seeing is a little bit of scuffing on this exposed midsole foam right here. And what I am assuming has happened, well, it's kind of obvious what has happened, but when I land, I'm probably landing on my heel most of the time and then rolling through just because of the speed that I'm going to be running in the Aura. But even so, let's say I was going to land on my forefoot, that weight coming down from the top of the shoe is going to push out this little bit of midsole just slightly. So when my weight goes on it, it is just forcing this midsole down, and that's where I'm getting that just tiny bit of scuffing. But guys, look, if I'm totally honest, I'm really just pointing this out to hear myself talk, because that is not going to affect how the Aura wears. Obviously, most of my weight is going to be going onto this outsole rubber, and there's zero wear on it at this point in my running journey with the Aura. So I would say that the Aura is going to stand up to, you know, average to above average, like miles or kilometers, however you measure your runs. It's going to be fairly durable. You know, I know I said that the zip foam is just softer than this other piece of the Y-frame right here, but now I'm touching it, I really want to see what the durometer says. So hold on one second, let me grab it. I probably should have got this before I press record on the camera, but bear with me. And wouldn't you know it, like thanks to the magic of editing, that didn't take me any time at all to like dig through my boxes back there and find this durometer. But let's just stick this on the zip foam. I'm going to take a couple of readings. Let's start with the front. We've got 31.5. Going to take the zip foam in the back. Oh, it's identical. 31.5. And now we're going to try this Y-frame. And oh yeah, it's quite a bit firmer. I'm getting 40, 43, 44. Let me just try a little further up. 44 again. So yeah, the foam in the Y-frame is just quite a bit firmer. And that just gives a nice bit of support without being overbearing. You know the way stability shoes used to be when they actually had to have like plastic elements inserted to give that stability. But now that shoes are using just a little denser foam as their support mechanism, it just leads to a much more fun and natural ride. In fact, even though this is technically a stability shoe, that's how they class it because of this Y-frame on the bottom. Look, I think anyone can run in this shoe and still enjoy it. Like if you're looking for a daily trainer and you like how this looks, if someone didn't tell you that it was a stability shoe and you are a neutral runner, I would say that you would never know. Like it just rides smooth, it rides nice underfoot, and I love the simple Topo styling. All right, so now I want to hear from you. Now, it's unlikely you've run in the Topo Aura just because it's brand new, but have you run in any Topo shoes? If you have, drop a comment and let me know which one is your favorite. And if you run in stability shoes, drop another comment and let me know which has been your favorite stability shoe. But for now, it's Matt B. This has been my review of the Topo Athletic Aura. Brand new. Be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days.